And we're on for what's hopefully the last session with ERGOL. I forgot to put on the title. There we go. Now we're ready. I'm going to do some basic poly painting and just assign some materials and stuff. Ideally, it's gonna be done, but I'm going to keep revisiting because for rigging and for animating him, I'm gonna have to go back to and correct a few things. So it's gonna be finished, but not quite finished. Hey, Couch! How are you? The title? Well, I do hope I'll be able to finish him today. Sculpting wise is pretty much done. I'm just giving him some finishing now that I might revisit later, but thank you. I think he's sort of done. Basically, I might go back and fix a few thingies, but for what's the basics, he's done right now. How are you? That's cool. You can always hang out and kind of half do the chores. I'm a little late because I was also doing stuff, but since I finished Tomb Raider yesterday, I thought, well, there's not that much of a hurry. I don't know exactly. I attempted some poly painting the other day with him, and it was good. I thought it was going to be harder, the final sort of dragon lair sort of thing in China, and then you get home invaded as a sort of an epilogue. I thought it was going to be harder, and I was done with it in less than an hour. I want to give him some sort of basic texture so it won't be like a flat color. I saved the game a lot. I really hate having to redo things a million times, so I kept saving and saving. I honestly didn't even remember. I thought I was going to be done once I recovered the dagger and everything, and then I'm suddenly in Croc Manor and I remember, oh, I'm gonna get raided here. I don't even know why or who sent them after me. If Marco, the mob boss that was after the dagger and everything, died, I don't know who sent them to my home after everything was said and done. The other day I discovered that I can make like a relatively neutral color skin like this, and then give it a sort of an undertone that can be fleshy, or it can be green, it can be yellow, it can be blue, it can be anything, in actual keyshot. Since I'm still not decided if he's gonna be really flesh colored or what, I think that should be useful. And here I can give him some colors, like some color in the cheeks, the tip of the nose, the lips, some shading. But he is he's the protagonist of a little animated thing that I'd like to do. not real 3D animation, because rigging and animating 3D is something I cannot do right now. Maybe someday I can learn, like in Blender or something. But yeah, he's the protagonist of a story that I've been wanting to tell for a while, and I never thought I could really. But when I did the birthday video for Phil, I discovered this animation software that I used to do the Hamlet Factory and my sort of Star Wars parody. It's very rudimentary what I can do with it, but it's finally like the one thing that's gonna let me tell these stories and do a little thingy. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a hybrid of 2D and 3D, but since I cannot really draw, or I'm not necessarily happy with my drawing, I can make this mixture of 2D, 3D models, rendering them in 2D and rigging them and animating them in 2D, with again combining some 3D elements, maybe like some camera motion around when the character doesn't have to move a lot, or maybe three-dimensional backgrounds. But that's kind of the idea, to do this sort of hybrid of 2D and 3D. Yeah, it's really trying to match what I can do with what I want to do, with the limitations I have with that kind of thing. I always wanted to do stuff like this. I always wanted to tell my little stories. I went to film school. I didn't graduate. I didn't really do anything. There's not much of an industry here. But I was never really able to do anything. Again, animation is not something I could ever really do. Drawing isn't really my thing. Let alone drawing 24 frames per second. And the 3D stuff that I do, rigging it and animating it, again, is a whole different animal that I don't really know how to do, or I don't even have the softwares. I did try Blender once. I didn't really click with me. So after all these years, I finally had the chance of doing something, a little something in my own little way, and I wanted to start. It was going to be my passion project for this year, but when my laptop broke and everything, I lost some of the stuff that I had. I lost even the screenplay that I had written. For some stupid reason, I had not backupped that. So all of those setbacks made me not want to work on it this year as I had planned, and other problems and other stuff that happened. But now I'm sort of feeling better a little bit and getting back on the saddle, and I think it's time. It's finally time to do this guy. It's a story that I had that has mutated a lot. It was a sub-story that I was going to tell inside another story. Where did I... There we go. And it's a story I was always sort of very fond of. Yeah, I didn't necessarily give up on it, but I was really... It was like one setback after another, and then some personal stuff going on this year, between like July and September, with my mom's health and everything. She's fine and whatnot, but it's been a ride. We've been very shaken around this times, and again losing the stuff that I had done some research. I had a first draft of a screenplay. I lost all that, and it was really disappointing. But now streaming also has given me the opportunity of doing this and talking about this, and it has helped me so much to be live doing this. If I was on my own, I'd probably be watching YouTube doing nothing. It's been really stimulating. It's given me like more focus or something. I can't even, I'm not even sure exactly what has it done, but it's different to being on my own doing whatever and perhaps making very little progress or none at all and just leaving it and coming back to it God knows when. But here I've been steadily working on it because of the stream, and when I finish him I might start a different character, or perhaps trying to do some backgrounds, some more art for this. Yeah, it's really unlike anything. I never thought it would be sort of right for me, because I'm really shy and everything, and I don't like public speaking. Is not a thing I can do or have ever really done. I hate even talking over the freaking phone. I don't. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this, but I do. It's unlike anything else. Yeah, really, I didn't really think it was right for me. And I couldn't even try before, uh, because of my ISP. But, yeah, it's very, now that I've been doing it pretty much every day, it's very time consuming. But well, I'd like to think since it's been time that I've been using on this, it has been productive. Uh, but yeah, it can be so consuming in a whole different way. Yeah, swear, don't worry. I sometimes hold back a little bit. I don't even know why. I sort of instinctively try to not swear too much, but I do, especially with Tomb Raider. I did swear a lot. Or I did swear, period. copy material, copy. Where the hell is the material? Copy material, there we are. Paste, linked material and paste, linked material. Link those two. Again, I don't think making him this... I should probably save this. This is gonna crash at some point because I intend to go back and forth. Don't worry. Swearing is fine. How about you? I know you stream and I've never been able to catch your streams. I went and followed you the other day because of... I always felt sort of guilty of not actually following you, but I also felt weird of going to your profile like in the middle of a random day and following you. But how else am I gonna know when you stream if I don't follow you? Again, this flesh tone I don't really like, but I don't want to make him like a weird, unnatural color. I certainly don't want to make him green. I thought we tried the other day something kind of grayish, bluish that kind of worked. What even was it? Maybe more saturated, but not bluish, more gray. Right, December, a lot of people are either counting on December to have a break or to go back to hobbies and stuff like that. Of course. Again, I always meant to follow you. I always knew you streamed, but I always felt weird about going to your channel to follow you like out of nowhere. I did, the other day I did some, where is it? No, that's not what I'm looking for. This. I gave it like a little pink, oh, symmetry's off. A little color in the tip of the nose, a little color in the cheeks. That's a lot. Well, he has big cheeks. And a little color in the lips, then some shading in the sort of crevices. Is this too subtle? Is this gonna show through the bluish tint? I don't know. So ERGOL, actually, it's a sort of weird story. I was so pumped when I did the Phil Jameson video and I did the Hamlet Factory sort of trailer parody thing and the last version of the Star Wars parody thing that I did with this new software, that I thought okay, I can finally make my own little animations, but what story am I gonna tell? I have like big stories with too many characters. I have my vampire, like my vampire Emilius thing, whose name I named after me, but then I took back his name and whatever. And I thought, I cannot animate all that. Those are thousands of not thousands. Those are dozens of characters. Who the hell is gonna voice them? They're all very realistic. I should do something like in fantasy or something more cartoony. And I had no ideas. I have a lot of ideas and characters and stuff, but it's all longer subject and whatever. But I had no idea for a short. And I came up with a character before I had a story. I sort of envisioned him very much like this. Originally he was going to be more of a goblin character, sort of plump and short and whatever. And then I realized that I had this story that was going to be told inside another story, inside the actual vampire story, which had sort of nothing to do but with anything. But I told I'm never really gonna use this story inside the other story, so I might as well make it its own thing. And that's how I sort of adapted it into what ERGOL should be. Again, originally it was going to be more of a goblin kind of character that was going to team up with a fairy to together do a kind of spell. But then I ended up changing the lore and changing the world and changing the whole thing, and I made him he's not really a goblin, he's more like the product of a spell slash experiment a wizard made. And he's teaming up with the daughter of a sorceress, who's like a sorceress apprentice herself. I don't know if it's going to work, I don't know if it's the kind of thing that I feel like sort of works on the page, but I don't know if it's going to be too dialogue heavy, too exposition heavy, because if he's going to, for most of the story and most of the animation, he's gonna be collecting ingredients for this sort of magic spell that they're gonna be making. And he's going to encounter different characters from this world that are going to help. Most of them are going to help. They're going to be contributing a bit of their own magic and their own sort of wisdom to what ERGOL and Astrid are trying to do. I don't know who. I'm being kind of self-indulgent. It's the kind of thing that I've been wanting to do for years, but didn't know how or couldn't. And I just really want to tell my little story. I don't know if it's gonna get any eyeballs ever, or because it's fantasy, but it's not really for children. It's not really for adults. Anything. There's nothing terribly violent or anything about it. But it's a bit of a hybrid. Grown-ups might dismiss it because it's fantasy. A younger audience, I'm probably not even going to make it watchable on YouTube Kids and stuff like that. But a younger audience might think it's boring. But I don't know. I just want to tell the story that I want to tell in the way that I sort of can. Yeah, you always do think of an audience. I'm not being completely self-indulgent. After all, I have a very basic uh, sort of education on storytelling and filmmaking and stuff like that, and you always think of an audience. You're not always your only audience in your mind. You do follow the rules to make something either understandable or relatable or I don't know. But yeah, in general terms, I'm sort of making it as I want to, and more or less the way I want to. You do think of, well, people has to understand this. This has to come out of somewhere. This has to be sort of earned and justified. I wanted to, oh, this or this. I had this idea of the other day making this sort of buckle for the for the belt. Make it the E, this stylized E from ERGOL. I think you haven't seen that. I've been using it as a separator sometimes. This, where is it? That thing, the E from ERGOL. I thought of turning it into this buckle, and I don't know if it's like too self-centered of him to use his own initial in his decoration, but it's an idea that I had for a while, and he has those E buckles on the shoes and the belt. I'd like to think it's not something he chose necessarily. He maybe it's something that the wizard made for him and he still wears. It's like all of his clothes still barely fit, and he still sticks to them because they were made by the wizard. But I don't really know what am I going to do. And if I sort of finish him today, tomorrow I might start a new character. And if I start working on Astrid, I really don't know what I'm gonna do with her, because originally she was going to be a fairy, and I had all this idea for her design. And in a similar way to him having the mushroom thing, she was going to have a more sort of a floral thingy. But now that she's a sorceress and she's sort of human, I'm not even sure right now. That's another possibility. She might not be completely human. So I don't know if I'm gonna start working on her immediately after finishing him, because I really don't know what to do with her. I thought of perhaps making her some kind of humanimal, some kind of uh, either a feline or an owl or something. But at the same time, I think she should be uh, sort of quote unquote beautiful. I don't want her to be. The whole idea is that she's, compared to ERGOL, she's sort of more quote unquote normal. And he's a bit of an outcast, not necessarily because he's appreciated, he's loved, but he is still some kind of an outcast because he's not like a real boy in a way, in a almost a Pinocchio kind of way. He was made by a wizard. So I keep thinking Astrid should be a bit more normal, she shouldn't be some sort of weird monster, but at the same time I'd like to give her something unique too. Yeah. I don't know if a normie necessarily, but yeah, she's a bit more uh sort of normal. Speaking of all of the inhabitants of this world, there's nobody quite like ERGOL in this world. In a good and in a bad way, he's still sort of lonely. He's still loved and appreciated and everything, but he feels like he's not really treated as anybody's peer because he isn't. But he's not necessarily discriminated against or looked down upon or anything, but he's kind of in a situation when he doesn't feel fully accepted either. Whoops, no. Phones. What am I looking for? This one, 13, this one. And that's not the main story, that's some sort of subtext in there, but it's there somewhere. How he feels, how he's sort of treated. Again, these are all good people, they live in a world where evil has been vanquished. Precisely, it cost the life of his maker and Astrid's mother. They were like the wizards, protectors of the land, and they died doing that, protecting. And now these two are sort of their heirs, except nobody necessarily thinks of ERGOL as the heir of the great wizard, because he's just this sort of weird boy that's not a real boy. Again, it's not the main theme of the thing, but it's something that's sort of there. What am I looking for? This. It wouldn't be me if I didn't give it some kind of subtext of being a bit of an outcast of a character. There's only one survivor of the three great wizards, and she's like the only one that can guide Astrid and ERGOL into taking the place of their sort of parents, quote unquote. Well, Astrid's actual mother and ERGOL's maker. And she still doesn't necessarily see ERGOL as a suitable successor to the wizard. And ERGOL himself has come to believe it is a bit of an internalized thing. He doesn't believe in himself in a way. He has almost given up on magic because what's happening? Oh, there. That's why he's more of a handyman. He wears tools and stuff. He's more of a... What am I looking for? There. Again, yeah, it's like a lighter story on the surface, but it has all of this other stuff going on. Him trying to find his place in his world where some people don't really think he has any place necessarily, and not out of them being evil or bigoted or anything. Again, these are good people. These are the survivors of a real war against true evil. But they're still not perfect, and they're still a society that doesn't know what to do with an oddball guy like this. He's still a sort of a second-class citizen, even when he is appreciated and loved. What is this? Can I do the shading with this? This is gonna be too dark. No, I cannot even see it. Just some little shading. No, what am I looking for? A little shading here. Is that too intense? Let's try it there. What happened here? I don't know, what was that weird thingy there? And I have an idea also for a sort of a sequel, but that's way too ambitious already. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make a single one, let alone a sequel. But I'd like to make more. I have at least an idea for a couple more stories with ERGOL. Again, it's not like ERGOL is all I want to do for the rest of my life, but I have a couple ideas. Yeah, it's amazing how this whole world sort of grew out of nothing. Again, it started with me just thinking of what short story I could tell in animation. And I ended recycling an old idea, but then it started growing out of that. What am I looking for? Outdoors. This. The forest. Let's look at him in the forest, daylight kind of situation. I don't even know. I came up with the original idea a while ago. Again, it was going to be a story that was going to be told inside the vampire stories, pretty much almost to just make a point. I had a lot of those sort of little stories told in the main story, but again, I really started to adapt it and to think about it when I did the Phil Jameson thing. I thought, well, now I can animate a little something. What can I do? And I went back to that story. So I've been thinking about it since like August last year, and but basically the main idea for the story, yeah, it's something that I've had for a long time. I'm gonna make this lighter. For a while I thought I would give him like cartoony hands with only 4 fingers. But I don't know about that. I don't even know. I think I always liked film, and I always liked the audiovisual medium, and I always wanted to go in that direction, even as a child. It wasn't even on the menu when I was a child. Even the possibility of going to film school. But yeah, I guess it's something that I always loved and that's always been with me. I like this leather, but I don't know if it's gonna stay in place. And again, it was really a great thing. It was a great sort of discovery. To actually be able to go and be actually able to learn about it, but then it was like a big frustration not to be able to graduate and not to be able to really do anything in the industry. There's not even much of an industry here. I don't know. I have so many favorites for so many different from so many different eras of my life. I keep going back to what I loved as a child. Then I like some cooler, more grown-up stuff. But I keep going back to everything I always loved about movies when I was a kid. From animations and fantasy and... Yeah, there's not much of an industry here. I mean, some of the some of the people I went to school with either ended up, if they were really lucky, they ended up working in one of the local TV channels, but just doing production for like the news or stuff like that, and not really making fiction, not really making movies or short films or anything. Uh, and actually, the film school I went to has always been a weird sort of feedback because of for starters, very few people graduated, especially back in my day. We were the sort of guinea pigs of this new plan. They went from it being a 3-year career to 4, and we were the guinea pigs, and absolutely nobody that started with me graduated. Some people came back years later and started pretty much from scratch, and I think only 2 of those actually graduated. Uh, and again, the very few people that graduated, some of them have even ended up teaching at the same school because if they have no other actual place or even reason to be with their education. And we're not even, yeah, it's a school that's not even taken seriously on a national level. I remember one of our more sort of brilliant graduates got a possibility to go to a quote-unquote actual this is like a local literal school. Someone of our graduates, someone that came before me, was offered a full scholarship to study at the proper University of Visual Arts and whatever, but to start from scratch, as if he had never taken a single lesson on anything, like anyone who had never even gone, who had never set a foot on a film school, and he was like our most brilliant graduate at the time. So it's like we're not even taken seriously. No, especially back in the day. It's been a while since my days. They've gone back. The Ministry of Education or whatever was under had threatened with shutting it down precisely because there were no graduates for a long time. So they went back from the 4-year plan to back to 3, and that was all sort of after my time. But it's very, yeah, it's been a very weird thing that for many years nobody graduated, not a soul. And before us, it was even harder because there was only with my sort of 4-year plan. They introduced specializations. You could specialize in directing, producing, or screenwriting. Back in the day, there was only one specialization, that was directing, and you had to direct. You had to your thesis had to be a short film, an actual shot on actual film, at least 16 millimeters, and you have to find your own funding in a state where there's not much of an industry. Yeah, that's what they really did making. It was really hard to graduate back in the day again, because you had to make a short film, and again in actual 16 millimeters. When they introduced the 4-year plan, they introduced production and screenwriting as specializations. So to graduate with this sort of major in screenwriting, all you had to do is to write a feature, and that's something you can do as opposed to go really make one. and to graduate with the sort of production major you had to produce. You could team up with someone who was directing and you could produce them and then rub each other's back that way. But it was really hard. And now I don't even know, I'm not very much in touch. Nobody that I know is going there now. But yeah, it was really difficult. They also made it so they were tired of students also who weren't taking seriously the whole thing. So they made it really difficult for you to not expelled, but what the hell is the word? You had to at least take one class per year and at least uh, take finals for at least 2 subjects a year, because a lot of people was sort of coming and going. This is cool that a lot of people, including the students, so obviously the rest of the industry didn't take it seriously, but it was precisely because of there's not an industry or anything. People would go there and quit and back and forth and in and out. So they made it harder also because of that. They force you to take at least uh, one presential subject a year, and you were forced to take some finals and take some, because of a lot of people went there as a bit of a second option. They were trying to rely on a proper different career for real life. So they kept coming and going and abandoning and dropping and going back. And they hated that. Which is really stupid. A lot of people, and most careers, even the most serious ones, you go when you go and you never lose anything. You don't get expelled, or they don't make you start from scratch if for the sake of just because you didn't take a subject that year, or you didn't approve a final. Some careers take as long as they have to, and nobody bats an eyelash. But with this, they made it harder in every possible way. And again, absolutely nobody that started and that went with me actually graduated. And then they saw themselves in that predicament, because the ministry said, "How come you exist and absolutely nobody graduates? You have like a lot of new students every day, but you every year, but you never have an actual graduate." And then they threatened with shutting it down, and they freaked out. Too little, too late. They changed the entire system, but entire generations had gone through it without making anything out of it. Yeah, I mean it's a public school, but the actual uh, endeavor itself is sort of forces you to spend a lot of money. We did our little short films and our little thesis and little assignments with always with no money. We ended up shooting whatever at the park or at someone's house, and with non-actors and with everything we could. But yeah, I don't even know how, if any of that has changed since my time. I don't know if the credentials right now are worth much. I feel like now they are letting people graduate because they want to keep existing. They turned a 180 and they just let anyone graduate. I don't know if anyone, but what I heard is they will just let people graduate in a way that they didn't before. They've made it so difficult for us. and now it's whatever, because yeah, we need to keep existing. Yeah, and again, precisely, it was also they themselves treated it like it was some kind of afterthought, because it was a nocturnal school, because of they had switched to that sort of model, because most of the students were people who had other jobs, other careers, other whatever. And what is happening? So it started really late at night, and we went out almost at midnight. Yeah, this is like a glitched out game where it's like that Assassin's Creed that glitched out and the faces were removed. Uh, but really, everything about it was so much of a pain back in the day. I think it has changed since it's changed the authorities, which was also a big deal. Back in the day, before I started, when they changed the whole plan from 4 years to 3, there was this lady that was like the principal or something, and the ministry kept uh, telling them to elect new authorities, because if it was just a natural thing to do to have, make it a democracy. And this woman was so I don't know, power hungry or what the hell, but she made every note and everything from the ministry disappear, and she stayed in office for longer than she should have. It was so funny when she was finally caught and fired and thrown out. And her whole system was so bullshit. It was part of also why the school wasn't taken seriously. But then a new sort of principal and a new dean were appointed that also stayed for too long and also did the same thing. They did better things, but in general, on top of everything, all of this freaking corruption as well. As if we didn't have enough problems. This is black, sort of leather, too much of a bad boy thing. What is it? Black velvet? That's not velvet. Yeah, it's insane. At least I got to have some proper lessons with a lot of proper teachers, because again, kind of after my time, a lot of the older teachers that really knew, that really were part of a little industry we have. We had film editing from a guy that used to travel from very far, and he would only come here like once a month and would condense all of the lessons in 1 week. And he was a real professional. He was a real film director and film editor and stuff like that. And I learned with a lot of actual real people who knew their craft and had done something. Pretty much after my time, I don't know if they fired these people, but they certainly replaced them with some of the few graduates they had from the past. And as opposed to me with this guy that was a real film director and a film editor, they replaced him with two girls that had only graduated a year before me. So luckily I had my lessons with that guy and not with these girls that, I mean, good for them, but they were only a little bit more experienced than me. They had never really done anything in the real world like this other guy. And a lot of that happened with a lot of the subjects. They replaced proper professionals with the few graduates they had. So they lowered the level so much immediately after I left. That's also one of the reasons why I left. So yeah, they had some great professionals, and they ended up replacing them with these few graduates they had. A school that was already a joke in other places became, yeah, this sort of weird sort of feedback of trying to position their own few graduates, trying to give them a job, because nobody wanted them in the real world. Yeah. And the kids that came after me and after my time ended up learning from people who knew just a little more than me and that had graduated. Perhaps they had graduated only writing like a feature to a screenplay to a feature, and that's all you needed to do to graduate. Yeah, it became a really crappy thing. It was really disappointing. But it also kept pushing people away in a lot of ways back then still. Before they freaked out and decided they should just let people graduate no matter what, because they were going to be shut down by the ministry or the whatever it was. Yeah, a lot of even elementaries and high schools right now are just letting people graduate. There's like a weird mandate of don't hold them back, don't anything. Education has gone to shit because of that. The mentality is, well, they are victims of a system or something, which is not untrue, but I mean, it is a very weird mentality. Yeah, absolutely. And it was already bad back in my day. I remember my mom was the librarian uh, at a sort of tertiary school where people go to learn to be teachers. What is that called? And the levels back then were already pretty low. They were supposed to graduate to become teachers, and they were like, I don't know, like barely functional illiterates back then. And now they have softened everything. Everything's very loose, everything's very lax. I mean, I don't want to get all back in my day, but you know, back in my day, everything was already fucked, and now they made it worse. They really haven't corrected anything for the better. It was abysmal already back in the day. And now it's just whatever. Getting ahead in the... It's very tricky. It's always been a problem, and every generation has had its own way to try to deal with it, and none of them has really been able to fix anything, and things only get worse. There's always... It only gets worse, it looks like. There's more people and bigger problems each generation. Is that too sharp in here? Yeah, absolutely. Everything is very short term. Everything is absolutely about keeping in office, about looting all the resources, and not really doing anything for the people. Or all they can do for the people is make them completely dependent of them, so they'll be needed. They can't stay longer. That's all there is to politics. Self-serving, staying in office forever. Yeah, absolutely. Pandering is really it. It's exploiting divisiveness. It's not really doing anything for the people. Well, it's like they have cracked the code of how to keeping people entertained by just fighting over something that feels like principles and just scaring people, telling them their very lifestyle is under attack or whatever. Everything has become a battle of when you would think it's quite obvious whose side is right and what principles are right. They manage to pervert everything, and even good things sound bad from certain people. It shouldn't be so hard to take a side. Well, and it's not hard on principle, but then uh, yeah. They finally figured out that by pitching people against each other, they could have a ball, and that's all they do now. Everywhere. It's become the thing to do. Hey Breen, how are you? I'm trying to finish this guy with some poly painting and some textures. Again, it's a sort of a relatively it's a relative sort of finish because I might be able to go back to fix some details when I finally try to rig him for animation and stuff. Thanks. I'm just trying some thingies. This should be greener. Certainly should be darker. I'm eyeballing a lot of things. I had like a little reference sort of color palette thing. And I haven't even been looking at it. I don't know if this should be bluish more than red. The sort of vest. This should probably be lighter. So I finished the game yesterday, I'm finishing this guy now. I don't know, next week what will I be doing, if I'll start a new game or I'll go straight to just keep sculpting, do a different character or try to do like a background or something. I have to do ERGOL's house at some point. He lives in some kind of a big tree. Yeah. I don't know, I honestly don't know if I should start a new game or just go straight to sculpting every day, every time. I felt like some variety was fine, but yeah. Yeah, there's also something about gaming that I had not been doing for a while. Something sort of relaxing. It's its own reward to do some gaming. And it's been a while since I played anything. So it was good to play something again. And I even got some views from that too. The other day I got raided and everything. Sadly I had to leave because I had like a thingy to do in town. But I stayed for as long as I could. And stupid enough, I didn't raid anyone. I should have raided someone with all those. It wasn't that many, but it was some extra viewers. I should have raided someone, and I was so worried about what I had to leave and do that I didn't even think of that. I could have raided Liz or Charlie or someone. I got so scared because if I didn't know what happened, because I set up some basic overlays, and there was the raid alert, and I didn't know what was happening. Very sweet of this guy that makes I don't know if he makes them, but certainly plays some fan-made Tomb Raider levels. So he saw me playing 2 and thought of raiding me. He had followed me only a couple days earlier. Whoops, that gives him a weird texture. Should I make them more shiny? Why are the samples so high? No. Only 16, damn it. So stupid. Why didn't I think of rating someone? I have stopped rating people with only 1 viewer because it feels like I'm only self-promoting. But then this guy rated with like 16 or something, but a bunch of them stayed. I could have rated someone, but I was really worried again about what I had to go do, which wasn't a big deal. I just had to go meet this guy and this plumber that turned out to be so freaking expensive. At least he did a good job. What the hell am I looking for? Masking. Here, masking. Mask by feature? No. Mask by fibers? No. Mask by... Yeah, no, of course. But I mean, it would have been a nice opportunity to really rate someone, as opposed to the previous times that I rated, that I felt really guilty for. Because I feel like I'm not really contributing anything to them, and I'm more like just self-promoting. Even rating Phil, I felt sort of guilty. I felt like I was... It was us anyway, we were gonna go there either way, but it felt like, precisely because of that, it felt like I was just self-promoting more than anything else. Shading, B. Can I do this by hand? Is it gonna matter? Is it gonna show? What the hell am I doing? Is this even noticeable? Where's the front again? Oh, here. Let's do a couple of these and try it. That's too dark, probably. Yeah, people have been very sweet. I mean, it's not like anybody accused me of anything. Phil himself gave me a shout out. Uh, who else? I've rated I rated triple jump at some point. They gave me a shout out, and everything was fine. They were in the middle of a charity thing, and I don't know. I feel like I don't want to be annoying. Why does this that look so dark? Is that the right material? Uh, hmm. Right. Why is it so dark? Oof, no. I'm still so oblivious to so many things again as I got startled by the raid notification and I don't remember that kind of things. I keep showing my desktop. I keep sometimes the other day I switched source for a while and I forgot to go back and I kept playing Tomb Raider without showing it. If I'm slowly getting better at this, it still doesn't really show. I don't know if I will be able to keep doing it for too long. Again, I'm enjoying it and it's certainly become a great tool for this. I've been saving, even when they're not like a wonderful thing on its own, I've been saving these VODs because it's part of the work on ERGOL that I want to save. And I didn't even think I'd be able to do that. All the sessions, I've never recorded my sculpting sessions of anything that I've done before, and people have asked me. People always asked me to either do like a time lapse or something, and I never thought it was worth it because I'm so chaotic. I've said this before, but I go back and forth. I abandon things, I redo them, I undo them, I overdo them. It's not a very linear thing, and nothing is really like this for me, like sitting down and beginning something and working on it until it's done. So streaming has really given me that sort of possibility, and also the chance of sort of documenting this. And I regret that I didn't even think of... Well, I did think of try to keeping a record on the making of ERGOL, but I didn't even try in the beginning. Well, I wasn't doing much. It's not like I was designing the characters like in drawings or anything. All I had was a screenplay that I lost, that I rewrote, that I... But in general, I always wanted to document the process and have something on the in the making of ERGOL, and with this I have that. I've had this VOD to keep. That's what it's given me. Can I erase this? It's kind of look too... If I raise the brightness... Why is it so dark? Can I try like in a different material? Well, it's dark as the light is not hitting it, but I mean... What is happening? Suddenly this red looks like way too saturated. It's very absolute red. Is that a bit better? I don't know if the vest could be green for the sake of being complementary to red, or being cyan, bluish also, but he has bluish skin. Oh, I forgot I wanted to give the satchel some kind of texture, some kind of burlap thingy. Hey, no worry. Thank you very much for coming and getting me talking about all sorts of stuff. Thank you very much for coming. What am I... Why is there a wrinkle here that I can't really see here, but it shows in the other? It shows in the final one. Where is it? Oh, no. Don't worry, Breen. Thank you too for coming. I'm probably going to be on for 1 more hour. And try to give this guy some sort of finishing. I probably should paint the cap instead of making it a solid thing as I've done it before, as I've done it here. I like this red thing, but if it would probably be more effective if I made it dark around the spots, around the... instead of a solid color. Nothing should be a solid color. I'm probably going to Photoshop some details in for the renders, for the actual rigging. So this is also why this finishing is sort of relative. But it should still be a thing. it should still be not as lazy as solid colors and procedural sort of textures. I should give it something more. Maybe I should subdivide this more as well if I'm going to be poly painting. What am I looking for? The shading brush. Oh, it's this. I had it at like 10 intensity, and now let's switch. If I do something like, oh, not without symmetry. If I do something like this, it's sort of subtle, but it adds some depth. I don't know if it's going to translate to the other side. What material was exactly the red cap thing that I had? The red cast iron. That was very shiny. Let's just paint. And I applied preserving the texture. Okay, that's much darker. Maybe I can change the brightness from here instead of going back and painting it a brighter red. Okay, yeah, that works. It's subtle, but there's like a shadow and a depth around the spots. Maybe I should make it a bit more subtle even. Let's switch back. Let's repaint this. Let's go back to a lower opacity. Oh, that's not what I was trying to do. I should probably darken this edge a little bit. Maybe more from the inside out. Again, just for the sake of giving it like a little depth, a little literal shading. Did it bleed to the other side? Because it sometimes does that. Did a little bit here. I can repaint it red. I don't know why it suddenly makes me think of Alice in Wonderland. And now let's switch back to the dark color and do, again, without symmetry, just enhance a little bit, add a little shading where the spots are. I keep forgetting what the actual name of the parts of mushroom are. I don't think it's called spots. What does it look like? Is it too dark? Well, I can always lower the contrast here of the texture, I think. so I can play with that sort of back and forth. Again, I've kind of gotten used to this skin color. I could make him more flesh-like. But I sort of don't want to. He is supposed to be, and it goes a little bit more with the color maybe of the stem of the mushroom. I was going to add other details like perhaps leaves or vines or something in his forearms, like the texture of a bark of a tree or something, but in the end it all felt a bit too much. I might still do it, but for now I was like satisfied with this. I've been sort of designing him and redesigning him as I go along, because I had no actual reference, just an idea of what I wanted him to be. Again, initially he was going to be more of a goblin type of character. Now I don't even know exactly what the name would be for what he actually is. Oh, no. The other character in this was going to be more of a fairy, now she's more of a sorceress, and that I really don't know what to do with. I don't know what kind of design I should go for. But I might be able to find it also by just doing it. It might be what I do next, starting maybe tomorrow or Monday. He kinda looks like a character from one of those straight-to-video movies. But, well, that's not entirely a bad thing, I guess. I'd be lucky to go to straight-to-video. If I make anything, it's gonna go straight to YouTube. What am I looking for? No, switch that. Is this the shading brush? No. Yes, it is. I should give the hands a bit of shading. That's a bit too dark. It's a bit too focused. This is just for the sake of giving him some depth and some sort of detail where he doesn't have any. This should be higher. Probably the palms shouldn't have spots. Right. Did I turn off symmetry? Why? I should do this with symmetry on. I thought I was, well, I am still working on this sort of shading and all, but I thought I could perhaps try to pose him a little bit for some kind of beauty render. I don't know if I'm going to have time for that today. I just wish... Is symmetry back on? Yes. So I keep forgetting. Is that too dark? This, since it's not rigged, it's not really poseable. I have to sort of force him into a position by just rotating the parts that it's made of. It's not really poseable per se, but I thought I could do some kind of posing so he wouldn't be in this very symmetric sort of neutral position. Oh my god. Why do I keep turning off symmetry when I have to work with it? Well, at least it's not super symmetric. Okay, that's a lot. Can we lower that so these sort of freckles are not all that sharp as they are looking right now in the render? Okay, again, just creating a little hint of a shadow there. The renderer is good at doing real shadows and doing a kind of photorealistic render, but you always want to have some depth and some detail even when you don't have like quote-unquote real detail. I keep thinking he could go for... oh, why is this transparent again? Should be just... Does it have a weird specular? Why is not... Sometimes I apply this metallic paint sort of material only because it adds a sheen. I reduce the metal coverage, refraction index, increase the roughness, but it gives materials a nice sheen, and it does it with very few samples. This is a sample set to just one. We could add a little bit more. I said I wanted to make some kind of design to look like embroidered in the back. I haven't really come up with anything yet. I might add that in the future. I really don't know what to do for that. And I might put something in there that has to do with the story. And right now I don't have anything decided like that that would affect the story. Is that better? Blue and gold I like. Blue for a protagonist I like. He's already very warm and earthy. Well, he's already kind of slightly blue skinned, but I think this works better. What I forgot about is the sort of burlap texture that I wanted to apply on the satchel. Maybe this gold is a bit too shiny. And it's an Exalta gold, it takes longer to render. Maybe just an old-fashioned gold I can make a bit less shiny. Where is the refraction index? Maybe it could be lower. Maybe the color itself could be a bit more muted. So it's there but it doesn't... Again, all these colors I might change, I might correct at some point. I just wanted to have like a renderable model today by giving it most of the textures that needed to be what they needed to be. Is this the same material? Why does it look so different, this sort of color on the shirt? I don't know. Anyway, I should do something about the satchel already. I've been all over. What am I doing? This should be lighter. There is like a procedural fiber weave texture. That's way too big. Oh, not fiber, cloth weave. That's too big, isn't it? I still cannot see it. Is it applying at all? I don't even know. This is still dark. Where is this? Is this applying at all? I cannot see it. Why is the scale like that? Well, forget it. I cannot see this texture. I don't know if I can apply. I did something with my Oogie Boogie model from A Nightmare Before Christmas a couple of years ago that I made that kind of burlap texture that I was hoping to be able to reproduce here. Is this... oh. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to split this up into parts that I didn't even notice that I had not done that. Split that as well from the stitches. Split the stitches. This all needs to be its own element, because it needs to have its own texture and its own details. There's something about this that I feel we should adjust. I don't know if this... again, I'm not sure of how I feel about this fly, but it's like a design that I saw on like medieval trousers that I thought they were unique looking. And I thought it's what I should go for. But it's like... it sort of draws attention a little bit too much, maybe. I don't know. I'm probably not going to be able to make any kind of beauty renders on stream because they take a few minutes. It's gonna be like a dead time. But it's still a good thing that I'm being able to give it some finishing on stream. Is there like a... there's like a cloth material thingy, right? Would that work if I applied it to a satchel? I don't know what it's even doing in terms of the texture, but it looks alright. Sort of. Are these... do I have to fix the stitches? Sometimes I apply that kind of things that they look like they're floating like these. Ow, where am I? No. Here. This end of the stitches looks like it's sort of floating and it's not really going into the thing, but I don't know if I have the willpower right now to fix them individually. They're already too much on one side and not so much on the other. I should fix this, because they are very visible. Maybe the rest of them aren't so bad, but those were like sticking out and floating in the air. How are these? They're fine-ish compared to the other ones. What about this side? These are kind of floating. I should have done this yesterday, but I forgot. There's so much to do that one thing distracts you from another, and very often what happens to me is that I consider something finished only to discover that I had left something undone completely. I just had a sort of a placeholder thing, and I never noticed that it needed detailing and finishing. And by the time I want to call the whole thing finished, I realized there's this one detail that I never even touched. And all I had was like a temporary thing. Happens to me a lot in the daily challenge. I have done this character that's very much average, it's not super detailed or anything, but I've done it like in 8 days, or this is at least the 8 sculpting session on stream. And regularly I do stuff like this in a sitting for my challenge. I have to. It's the whole idea. And I don't know what's taken so long with him. Well, I've gone back and forth on some details a lot. God, let's make this flat for the sake of applying the texture better. Can I make the scale? If I make it 1, is it too big? Do I have to shift? The bump as well. I don't know if the box map is really what I want. Why is it in the middle of the scene? Let's show only this. That's why the texture is all stretched. This belongs here. Let's bring the box where the actual object is. Let's give it the rotation and the orientation that the object actually has. And that made it worse. Great. Is this spherical? Oh, yeah, it's worse. The cylindrical. Oh, what is that? I guess the box was sort of okay. Let's make it diffuse again, or maybe even the old trick of the metallic paint. Let's lower the metallic thingy. Let's lower the refraction. Wow, it's really reflective of the environment. Yeah, metallic isn't really the way to go with this, but I wanted to see if I could make it less flat. Maybe I should lower again the scale. I've made this as if I knew how I'm going to make it work. In terms of animating it, I didn't even make it hollow. I mean, if you lifted this shape, that's the sort of lid. This is a solid shape. So this is a bit just for show. What? I'm looking at, are these yeah, just the stitches. I'm trying to move them a bit here, closer to the edge, because they're too close in one end and not so much in the other. These stitches in the lead, I don't know, I'm not too convinced about them. I wanted to add some kind of detail, and they are what they are right now. They look more decorative than anything, which I'm not against. Now that they're darker, they still stick out. But well, this I was going to sculpt into, make it like a little twig or something, and I ended up leaving it as a cylinder. Making it shiny, a bit lighter. Maybe it'll give a little bit the illusion of what I intended originally, with the idea of making it like a little twig. The pupils, I wanted to do something with them. I don't know if the pants should be darker. I don't know if the belt is a bit too saturated. Up close it looks more like leather, but from afar, should I make it more contrasty? Maybe a little bit shinier? I want it to look sort of like leather, but should the pants really be black? I originally made them black. I really like the ones that I used for reference were sort of dark. I feel like fully dark it loses some detail. No, not more blue. Maybe just darker than this. Is there like a... What is this even doing? Just darker? Oh, that's the fold sort of color. Just a little bit. I don't know. What did I redo? What did I undo? What is this material? Leather belt. Okay. Is it dark too dark? No, but that is fine. Maybe this should be lighter. It was fine at first. Why did I change it? That's too samey. It should be... Maybe that? I don't know. The vest. I like it like that. It's almost opalescent with a sort of sheen. It doesn't look like a very realistic material of anything that's normal, but this isn't anyway. This was all made by the wizard that made him. So it should look special. Is there anything that I haven't tampered with? What is this? All the pupils. All the... Have I given the wrong material to something like translucent plastic instead of plastic? 'Cause that takes longer to render and it doesn't really look better. So I think he's sort of basically done. I had an idea for the pupils, but instead of leaving this made out of actual circles in 3D, that's not the way to make an eye. But I thought I maybe could add like realistic pupils. As labels here to the material, but I have to look for the texture that I need. I'll be right back. I'll take a little break here. back. Am I back? This is working. I thought of making the pupil like this, like sort of realistic, and apply it directly to the eyeball. I don't know if it makes much sense, if it's the kind of color that I was really going for. Yes, exit. I'm going to hide this, the actual irises that I had given him, and try to apply this as a label here. What am I doing here? ERGOL, this, apply here. Is it there? Where is it? Where did it go? Did it really apply? Where did it freaking go? Positioned? Here. There we go. Where were you? Is that the right size? Then we duplicate this one. How do we duplicate this one? Yep. And we place it on the other side. Is it even the right size? It's too big, isn't it? Let's remove that one. Let's go back to this one. Let's hide everything that's... what? No. Let's hide everything that's getting in the way. And now let's try to reposition this. It's probably too big, isn't it? Where's the scale? Is that the right size? Right thingy. Could be smaller. That's more like it. Oh no. Can I undo that? Now let's duplicate this label and place it on the other side. Which again is sort of eyeballing things, which I don't love, but does he work with eyes like that? It was kind of the idea for him to have that sort of... Maybe I can increase the contrast a little bit, it's a bit too bright. Maybe I can adjust the curves. This material also, I'm still not happy with. The gold thing, maybe I could just make it like a darker blue. Or maybe I can make it less shiny. Or just darker, less saturated. This maybe could be brighter, but no. Right, this texture I maybe can make a little bit brighter. Does it work at all? Yeah, that's too much. I wanted to give him to hang like some tool or some pouch or something in from the belt and maybe sticking out of the pockets. But A, I forgot. B, is this the same material? It's like the kind of thing that I should probably add later, because I'm still not even sure on what that kind of thing should look like. Is he cross-eyed or something because I placed the pupils like eyeballing them? I don't know, I like him, and there's still something that doesn't quite click with me. What did I do with the eyes here? They're facing forward more. Are they is he cross-eyed here? That's something that you do a lot with cartoons. Sometimes for a cartoon character to look like he's facing forward, it has to be a little bit cross-eyed. Where did I even put it? A little bit like that. Does that look too pale? Instead of something saturated. No, oh, Jesus, that's a smurf. What I tried the other day looked I think it looked better in a kind of bluish shade. I tried a green ERGOL. Again, I don't want to go Shrek. Blue, I don't want to be Smurfy, but I like that it has this reddish subsurface color that still makes it a bit fleshy. But I guess it makes him look more like a living thing. We tend to think as red-blooded creatures being the standard for what's alive. Are the pupils centered? That's all I care about right now. Well, I don't know if centered, but looking forward. At least somewhat symmetrically. Not... Yeah, I eyeballed them, but they're kind of in the same position as the plain ones. I don't know, there's something about him that really feels like one of those terrible direct-to-video animated movies that make absolutely no sense and that are even problematic, haven't aged well. It makes me think of that. Should I make the teeth plastic? Will I have less trouble with plastic teeth? Again, this material, it's tricky because if it's in the shadow, it's under the cap. I try to boost the brightness, and I don't know if that's making it any better. Is the stream still working? Wow, it's capturing as a lot more bluish than what I'm seeing on my screen.
Still working?
I don't know if it's like a gamma thing, but it's very strange how it looks more bluish and kind of greenish even. Do I have like a warm sort of settings for my screen that I don't remember setting up? Should soften the the texture in the nose. I added this sort of freckles in the beginning because I don't want to have flat surfaces, but they're looking a bit strange, a bit too intense on him on some parts. I should definitely soften them in a lot of places. I don't know if I should make the tip of the nose and cheeks and everything sort of darker. I thought I should probably paint the inside of the mouth like a dark red, or at least more red, but in any case we can't really see inside, and just the darkness, the lack of light in there already makes it sort of dark. What am I on? Oh. Let's look at what the inside. That is cursed. What the inside of the mouth looks like. It probably should even be bigger. It's a very small cavity. The tongue even sticks out of there. I don't know if I should try to make it sort of darker, like a dark red. The problem with this is that it's the kind of thing that generally bleeds to the other shapes and the other places. Here I'm trying to mask the inside of the mouth, and I already masked the outside as well, because that's exactly what happens with something like this. Maybe I should have coated. Maybe I should make it its own thing, especially. But in any case, if for some shot, that's the beauty of this kind of thing, that if for some shot I need a specifically detailed mouth, I might have to sculpt it separately and make like an entirely different rig for just that one shot. It's a kind of problem solving thing that you face when you're doing this sort of thing. Does this have a very specific... Does this have some texture? Why does it look so grainy in there? There's like a granulated thing that I don't think I set up. Oof. That's not what I was looking for. This shading. Shading brush. That's splashed in the wrong place. There's something about the nose that's bothering me, so I want to cover it completely in that pinkish shade, because here it's rendering with a weird light, sort of shadow somewhere. Also, I thought I had made some kind of crease here in the chin. I remember trying a bum chin but not liking it. I'm not gonna go for that, but where the hell is the crease here? bit of a crease here to define the chin more. That's too much. No, I don't want to give him a bum chin anyway, but just to see what it could look like as a little shape, because right now it's like oddly straight. Just a little hint of a bum, of a bum chin, for the sake of giving it a bit of definition to a shape. It looked unfinished, it looked kind of abandoned there. That's why, again, I want to go back to this sort of crease here. Okay, no. Not bad. There was something like unfinished looking about it. No. I'm not happy with the brows. The brows, they're like very cartoony brows. I'm not sure what to do with them. I thought of trying to do fibery, realistic brows, but I don't think that's going to improve much. Is this the contrast that I raised it too much? Maybe I can lower it actually, because there's something that's bothering me, and it really is this sort of spots. They're there so the texture won't be so flat, but I don't want them to look spotty in the wrong places. I don't know if you should look more blue. Absolutely not so much, but because right now he looks like a very white person. Has like a bluish undertone, but he still looks flesh colored. Well, he does look bluer on the stream. I don't know again why is it. If my screen, do I have like a warm thing on? I don't even know. He might look in contrast to the other characters. He might look less fleshy, but right now he looks kind of fleshy to me, but in a way I like. Doesn't bother me right now. I don't know if this strap could be a bit darker again. I had made it darker and then made it lighter again. I don't know if it should have some texture. Is that really working? Let's see up close. Is it working at all? What the hell is wrong with this? This has texture clearly the best. Maybe I should invert it. I think that's better. But this, I'm not seeing it really being applied. Is this scale too high? I should probably update Keyshot. This is a pretty old version. 2015, it's really old. It has improved a lot since. Should the eyebrows be less black and more like a dark brown, not too saturated? That's something, one of the few things that I always insist with. Don't make lights white or shadows black. Nothing is necessarily pure black or pure white. Even when it's supposed to, even if you're making like a white wall, it's gonna photograph differently anyway. So you might as well. Give it some flair, give it some slight tint, something. It looks very... Otherwise it looks very much like a child's drawing. It looks like it's a very beginner thing to do, trying to do shadows with black and lights with white. What was I going to do here? What does this look like in diffuse? Where is diffuse, for God's sake, up there? Yeah, the problem with diffuse is that it takes even longer to render like that. Did I try? I think I already tried the metallic paint trick. Okay. That doesn't bother me so much. Metal color could be something that works with this. Because this material is so hard to nail right now. Again, not because of the material itself, but because of its impermanent shadow, because of the cap. And that already sort of makes it sort of tricky to work with. I don't know if I should give the cap some other sort of details, as perhaps a very light well, that's not very light, is it? Very, very light. Sort of texturing. Again, so it won't look flat completely. Just that. I work a lot with flat colors and the stuff that I do, especially for like my daily challenge, because I don't have all the time in the world to poly paint. And a lot of the things that I do, I make them look like they could be perhaps like figurines and stuff like that. I should have done that before the shading. But let's try it. See if it makes any sense. It is very subtle. But again, it's for the sake of it not being completely flat, completely plain. What else was I going to do? Oh, maybe I could do the opposite in the spots and darken them just a little bit. A little splash of something. Let's see if that works. So far it's been working very well. Sometimes all of this exporting makes one of these softwares crash beyond repair. I'm not really going to make it metallic, I'm just trying to check if the little bum chin thing actually exported, because if it doesn't look like it, it really doesn't look like it. Did the spots in the thing, yeah. I don't know why the change in the, I'm gonna do something just, well, I'm gonna save here and here, because I think I'm gonna do something really extreme to see if that goes there, because I feel like it's not going. See? Uh-huh. So I suspected those changes in the sculpt did not transfer. Now I have to that's more like it. Lucky I noticed, because it's subtle enough for me to miss. I don't know why I made that little change that it didn't export. It exported some changes in the painting but not even that. I think I kept having that same problem with the uh, some spot that I was trying to overpaint here, and for some reason it was not exporting. It exported everything else and not this. Should I bring back the contrast? I lowered it because it was bothering me so much. There was like a weird spot here and I wanted to overpaint it, and I kept exporting. I kept brushing over it and exporting it, and it was not changing. If I made this flat, just to see if the textures are in place, if the poly painting is in the right place. Well, maybe I should do a little shading thingy here too in the this little crease in the chin. Well, I don't know if it's gonna export now. Maybe not as opaque. This looks kind of dirty there here, but it has to ideally translate into something more textured here. Did it really work? Did it really? Yeah, there it is. It's very subtle, but again, with the actual translucency, it's not as visible, but it's just a little shading. And that's almost all the time that I had for today. I'd like to do at least one beauty render, so I'm gonna let it render for a while to be able to post everywhere when I've been posting the progress on this. Again, I'm going to be doing different renders and breaking them apart to rig them for animation. So none of this is like definitive and final. But it's for now a more or less finished character. Again, I don't know if I might take tomorrow off. Ideally, I would have streamed, but I have no Phil stream, or do I? Is Phil streaming tomorrow? I don't even remember. But if he's not, I might take the day off. In any case, I'll be back either tomorrow or Monday. Again, I don't know if with a new game, now that we finished Tomb Raider 2. Maybe with a new character, now that we finished ERGOL. Again, finished to this point. Or what, I might not do more gaming for a while, or I might go back to my basics and my comfort games, something like the original Silent Hill, or maybe some other PlayStation game, or maybe I could move on to another Tomb Raider. The problem with Tomb Raider is that the one that follows naturally would be 3, which can be so much of a pain. I talked about it while playing 2. It's not really my favorite. I'd like to play again the first one, but I'm looking forward to the remaster because the original, the PC version doesn't play well, and the PlayStation version doesn't even emulate correctly. So I'll see what is next for these streams. I really want to be sculpting more. It's been very helpful to be doing this on stream. I have the VODs. I've saved them to my YouTube channel. Do I have a YouTube? There it is. I've been saving the VODs because I feel like they are like valuable. They are the actual making of ERGOL in a way that I didn't even think I was going to be able to document. So here we are, kind of done for the time being. And that's it, I guess, for the stream today. I did pretty much what I intended and what I hoped I'd be able to do. Texturing him. Poly painting him, assigning some materials here on Keyshot. Maybe I should have poly painted more, but there's stuff like these procedurals, these curvature based procedurals are great. I don't want everything to be super detailed, super realistic, or super textured. This is pretty much this combined with perhaps some more effective and dramatic lighting is what I was going for the look of ERGOL. I kind of wanted not for it to look like a 3D animation. I want it to look more like the animation of an illustration, if that makes any sense. Like what they did for Ticktone and shows like that. That's basically what it is. They digitally painted, they illustrated, and then they rigged that in 2D and animated. And that's kind of what I wanted for this. And I cannot really illustrate to that level, and the one way and the easiest way for me to do was to sculpt the characters and then make them look like illustrations and rig them and animate that. I'm going to probably make like some turntable animation for social media and stuff, and to update the project where I've been posting updates. But I guess it's done for now. Thank you again for watching. Thank you, Breen, if you're still around. Thank you, Couch Punk, for coming. It's been great again to be able to do this, to be able to document my progress on this, what's hopefully going to be my first animated thingy, or my original project. Next year, and maybe all the way to 2025, because I'm being realistic, I'm probably not going to be able to do it as quickly as I wish. I think it's going to be easier as soon as I have all the assets, and it's going to be relatively easier as soon as I have all the characters and all the backgrounds and all the things. I'm not even decided exactly on how am I going to do the backgrounds, but that's another story for another day. I might work on some background stuff on the next stream. Again, thank you guys. See you next time, either tomorrow or Monday.